Hey Kira, I'm back with day 9 of our 14 days of DIY Valentine's Day embellishments. Today we are still hacking Target dollar spot, and we're going to be doing these really cute arrows, these fringed arrows. You just did the fringed hearts, and they were so cute. Anyway, I'm just showing you my stash so far. We're still going to be working with leather, and I pulled my Dear Lizzie documentary 6x6 pad, and the colors went perfectly with the colors of leather that I pulled, and also even with that light purple color that I used in the stamping and the mint green, and it just went perfectly together. So I'm just kind of showing you some of my embellishments that I had done and how well they go with the Dear Lizzie documentary. Yeah, so I was really glad that the color of the purple that I used for the ink worked well, and the color for the kind of corally, which turned out red and sometimes worked out well. Here's a picture that you had taken when you went to Target to give us a reference of the embellishments that we're going to be hacking. So anyway, I'm just grabbing some papers here, going through my scraps, and if you have a hard time kind of organizing your scraps, a tip for you would be to just put an envelope on the back of your paper pads, and then all of your scraps stay together. I go there first, and then if I can't find what I'm looking for, then I pull out paper from the pad. Anyway, yeah, so what you see here is me making some chevrons, and I'm using a large hexagon punch. You can use a smaller one. Your measurements would be different if you use a smaller hexagon punch. Also, if you don't have a hexagon punch, a square punch would work. Your angles are going to be a little bit more sharp or angled than a hexagon, but it would work as well. I like the angle that the hexagon punch gives me. So yeah, so I'm just kind of pulling some random papers and punching until my heart's content. Okay, here are all of my little chevrons that I have. I'm just going to work on making the kind of the rod that the arrow would be on. And at first, and you're going to see me make a mistake, I did it at 1.5 inches by 4 inches, which is just too fat. They needed to go on a diet. So I cut them down to 1 inch by 4 inches, but you don't see me do that until later on. I do correct the mistake after I made the mistake. I just went in and trimmed it down. So yeah, so you'll want to trim it at 1 inch by 4 inches instead of 1.5 by 4 inches. Now, if you don't have a hexagon punch, and if you don't have a square punch so that you can make your little chevrons, you can always do it by hand. My chevrons are, and I'm showing you here, I'll zoom in for you. My chevrons are 1 3/4 of an inch, and I just pushed the ruler over 1/4 of an inch off on each side. So I'm marking 1/4 of an inch off of it, and then I'm finding the center point. So then your triangle is going to be 1.5 inches tall, and then 2.25 inches wide. So find your center point and that 1.5 inch mark, and you're going to get your perfect triangle. Whew, if that makes any sense. Okay, and you'll want to keep that piece of paper that you made your template on to cut out the leather or fabric or fun foam or whatever it is that you're wanting to work with. You can use felt, which is what Target Dollar Spot did with a lot of their items this year. I don't like the look of felt. I think it looks cheap because it is cheap. But they did use, for these arrows, they did use probably vinyl, faux leather. So I'm keeping with that kind of consistency, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so keep your triangle piece that you used with a scrap piece of paper and use that to glue down your leather onto the piece of paper, and that'll give it some added stability. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is notch out that hexagon or that angle shape at the bottom of your rod. like the center part of the arrow. And that way it doesn't stick out of the bottom when you go to place your pieces on. Then the next stuff that you're going to want to do is fringe the bottom of your hexagons, or these are now going to be the feathers to your arrow. And as you can see here, you can kind of start to see how I was telling you that the rod needed to go on a diet because it's almost the same size as the feathers or the hexagons themselves. So yeah, fringe, 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 trim, trim, trim. And I wanted to kind of stay consistent with the Target dollar spot kind of pattern. So they had ran the pattern, they had used the same pattern for the rod as they did for that first feather on the bow. And I didn't like how that looked. I felt like I needed it to be separated by another color or another pattern. So I ended up changing that too, and you'll see that later on down the road. So you can choose to separate out, like give a little space in between your feathers, or you can layer them up. And I liked them both ways. I liked them to where they were layered or where they were spread apart. So here I'm just gluing down my scrap piece of triangle onto the leather, and then you're going to take your glue and glue that down on the other side of your arrow. And I used ATG for the first round, and it works okay. And then you'll just cut off, trim off the edges there. And then you can kind of see it's just a little bit too fat. So I do end up changing that. And ta-da! They have gone on a diet. All right, so I'm just going to repeat the process here of gluing down the feathers on one side. You'll see me fringe up the bottom of the triangle or the arrowhead. And they turned out really, really cute. I'll have some still pictures coming up for you at the end. If you are new to our channel, just stopping by, hi and welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we've noticed that we've had some new subscribers. So if you have subscribed already to our channel, thank you so much for being a part of this community. We really love sharing our adventure. Oh, Rosie Marie. Hi, Rosie Marie. You're so sweet. I just stitched up the middle of the arrows and that totally brought it all together. Yes, I do love them. Okay, here's some still shots. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. You know the drill. We love you. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye.